Michael, it's obviously been a well-documented, pretty tough starts here, but what does a performance like that do for not just the morale of the team, but just the belief going forward for what the rest of the year can hold?
Well, it's given hope, but the fight back's been impressive. I guess the circumstance in itself, we didn't find ourselves in a great spot, but there was also really clear what we needed to do. So it wasn't like we were sort of trying to uncover things and flip rocks to find out what we needed to work on. It was pretty clear that we need to efficiently be better. So we've done a fair bit of work on that, just to get clearer on what that looks like for us, and we've been able to turn that into something. So having some personnel back playing has helped, but also some of the method that we've wanted to play like, we've been able to see that a little bit more consistent over the last, particularly the last 3 weeks.
Just the performance of Harry. I mean, obviously he's had some well-documented issues he's been public about, just almost best on ground, so wasn't he?
Yeah.
Just a huge performance.
Yeah, and just turned up in big moments. Look, regardless of what's happened recently, Harry's had an incredible pre-season. He's probably in the shape of his life. So, we've all sort of taken by his recent challenges. I thought it was great to see our supporters right in behind him as well, which was fantastic to see. And he had a couple of really big moments down the line there that he needed to mark for us and win that contest for us. And he had a big moment where he needed to finish the play in front of goal. So we had a number of guys that were in the same circumstance. We just had great moments, and Hainsey had a number of them throughout the game. So he certainly turned the clock back there a little bit. I thought Gov had some really big moments, 50-50 balls, where he was able to win the ball from tough situations. Weeder's tackle on Dangerfield late in the game. Tackles do win your matches. But I think overall the most probably pleasing team aspect of it all was that we've kept a very strong offensive team to a low score. And that's what we're sort of tried to buy into, and we've been able to get that job done. So that's a tough ask against Geelong. There's not many that have been able to do that.
I guess also, one of the standouts of your game today was the pressure just seemed like through the roof almost all game, and you made, usually a slick-looking team make lots and lots of errors.
Yeah.
Lots of out of bounds on the force, for instance. Like your pressure was just really up there all day.
Yeah, I haven't. The last thing I've felt like I've ever had to walk in, I had one moment where where our standards had slipped in that area a couple of weeks ago, and I've never felt like I've sort of had to walk into the change rooms and question our blokes' effort, ask them to bring more contest or more pressure or defend harder. We've been doing that pretty well. We probably weren't able to capitalise on it, but it has to be our standard. That just has to be what we expect from one another, and that selfless nature, the way we want to play, the pressure we put on the ball, standing up in moments where an opposition come at you and you can hold. They have to form part of our identity, and fortunately, I think that's the one thing that we've been able to bring pretty much every week to every game.
3 in a row and a scalp like that. Do you have a sense that you're back in the game, like back in the? I
think there's belief clearly growing about how we feel that if we play it and we play it consistently, that it can stack up against anybody. We weren't living up to that in early days. We'd play it in patches, and so that gave us confidence that we keep going at it, almost double down if you like in a lot of areas, knowing that if we could do it for longer, that it'd put us in great positions in games. And so I guess what's turned is that we've been able to do it for far longer than what we were. Everyone's spoken about our first half, second halves, but really at the end of the day, it's our ability to execute for longer that's been the major difference in it all.
And carrying on from that, they really challenged you a couple of times in the second half, and they would have had a sniff, and they would have been telling each other about Carlton's second halves. How much does that, what you did today, put that to bed, I guess?
Well, as you can see it come and go really quickly, so don't take it for granted. So we'll just keep validating what we want to hold as important to us. And clearly when an opposition has momentum, it puts more stress on your system, puts even more of emphasis on making sure that you get your roles right in those really key big moments. And so we felt like we've fallen away in those moments, but we didn't today. So as you said, we're sitting there at half time and you know what Geelong are going to do.
Yeah.
They were going to come and they'll throw caution to the wind and they were going to take chances, and it's just where we were good enough around the ball to hold up, where they were good enough defensively because we knew we'd get looks back going the other way. So fortunately we got enough moments to be able to get the job done.
How did you see the midfield battle? On face value, it looked very, very good, but Geelong was still able to apply a lot of tackling pressure in around the contest, but you guys were still able to get the ball out and give yourselves a lot of opportunities going forward.
I just think you embrace the arm wrestle. I don't know the game as any other thing. You get momentum for maybe 5-10 minutes against good teams. You don't get it for long. You have to respect that they're going to also get 5 or 10 minutes. But then otherwise the game lives in an arm wrestle, and I felt like for the majority of our game, our mids, put their head down and worked really hard. And Geelong asked a few questions. They flipped the magnets a little bit, tried to provide a little bit of challenge on that front, but we worked our way through it, and the boys were still able to give the territory we needed on the game to ultimately end up winning the game.
Just back on Harry, how big was it for him in that last quarter that he has that shot that he shags, then he gets back, settles, and kicks an enormous goal for you when the heat was still on?
Yeah, look, I mean, it is big. You never walk to a game and say, I'm going to stand up at the moment. Like, you only ever stand up when the opportunity presents itself. And it will show itself. You just got to be ready for it. So the detail that he puts in, the preparation he puts in into his game, he's an absolute pro. And he's worked through a few things like that. So I felt quite comfortable that in his hands it was going to ultimately end up the right thing, because he does put in the preparation, and when the moment then shows itself and it taps him on the shoulder, he's ready for it. And he's trained that many times, and I'm just really pleased that he's able to get the result and obviously be able to stand up in that moment. But there was a number of them, number of big plays, number of big moments. There's a few players that can walk away and say they stood up in those.
What lessons have you learned coaching him through this period, the last 6 or 7 weeks, Harry, to get him back on track?
What have I? About Harry?
About Harry and just coaching in general.
Oh, it's persistence. Like, we've seen the ebbs and flows of the competition. We're too ready to make judgments, it's just about being able to have patience and make sure that you're really thorough in everything. Have humility to accept the feedback if it's not good enough. Know that you have to be able to get better, challenge hard where you need to. But ultimately, it's about persistence. And when you've got belief in what we've been doing and the players have shared that belief with us, to keep sticking at it, it gives you confidence to keep going and keep reinforcing what we want to continue to value. And it's not about what others say about us. It's about what we value and what we hold as really important to us. And we're 3 and 4. We're fighting from a fair way back. So there's plenty of road left. So we just got to try and keep applying that consistency, and they've got a lot of encouragement out of today's game to be able to put some of that into our game moving forward.
Just more broadly, just how happy are you for Harry, for him to be able to stand up in front of a big crowd and just be one of your best players in a really important game, just from that standpoint?
Oh, please, because you go on a journey with every single one of your players, and everyone has a really different one. And you've got to appreciate that all of them bring different strengths and bring different things to the table, and you're just sort of trying to, I guess, maximise what those strengths are. And sometimes they're working for you and sometimes they're not. And you know what I always believe as a coach? You've got to believe in your people, and that's so important to do, to believe in them. And when they're going through tough times, you've got to keep showing them the way. And he's been able to work through some things, and I don't want to overplay this, guys, but... I'm just so pleased he's able to come back. He's a critically important person to us. We love him in our team. I'm rapt that our supporters were cheering every time we went near the ball. You go almost willing him into it at times. At least that's what I felt. So it was just a great energy around it.
How are Williams and Haynes, Michael?
Big yours?
Williams and Haynes. Williams with his calf and Haynes in that last quarter.
I think Hainesy's fine. I'm not aware of anything with Hainesy, but Williams' calf, yeah. So obviously we'll get that scan to find out the significance of it.
How much of a struggle? I think there was a stat that he's at Carlton, he's only managed 11 games in a row. Like, he just keeps getting these setbacks, and he kicked your first goal, right?
Yeah.
Just how hard is it for him at the moment?
Oh, he'll be fine. He's again, everyone's got their own sort of little journey that they've got. They've got their own little story to tell. I spoke to him in the rooms afterwards. He's disappointed that he can't join us, but he's literally not missed he's hardly missed a session throughout the whole year. I mean, we've managed him as we would with someone with a slight history, but he's trained really well. He's been as keen as anyone. He's been in some good form, filling a really good role for us, something a bit different that's unique to him. But, hopefully we're missing him just for a couple of weeks. But I don't know the scale of it yet, so I guess it's a bit of wait and see. But, again, he's a pretty important player to our makeup of our forward line. And, we've got a little bit of that cohesion at the moment. We've got that sort of, I guess, consistency of personnel that's been playing out there. So we've sort of been able to work through some form patches with some individuals, but it's been a key priority for us to be able to ensure they get time together. Like our back six, just spend 6 or 7 just time together. It's a new back six. Jack's back down there. He's played minimal games with Weeders beside him. Haynes is coming as new. Ollie Hollins is new. Matty Carroll is new. We've had Lockie Cowan down there, who's only young. But what they've been able to do in the first 6 or 7 weeks has been particularly impressive. So they're coming together really well. Obviously where we can, love to have that forward line as familiar as we can week to week as well. So, but they're the ebbs and flows of the season, and we know there's another one coming. But at the moment, we've got to maximise what we're doing right now.
Just on Haynes, I mean, I'll put my hand up, and a lot of people would have thought he was in a bit of strife after round 1, and obviously it's in the twilight of his career. What was your message to him to get him going, because he played so well today?
Keep going, because like the pre-season, there was enough evidence to suggest that he was going to have an impact on our season. So you don't get a body of work. That's what way we look at it. We look at over time. We don't look at it in a moment. You form that confidence, belief, trust over time. He clearly had that with our playing group, and he had a bad day. So how about we just stick with someone, rather than sort of cast them off and spell them to the end, So he was able to work his way through that, and he's been a really important member of our back 6 or 7. So I'm just pleased for him that he had some really good moments today, and he played a particularly strong game.
What did you make of Corey's mark?
Yeah, I said to him I didn't know. He took a specky last week too, and I didn't realise I had a 172 centre-half forward, centimetre centre-half forward, but he keeps catching them. So you got permission. If you keep catching them, I reckon you can keep going for them. So nice to see a little bit of energy for him. But geez, he can jump, can't he? I didn't know he could do that. So it was particularly impressive, especially when I was on sand.
And Michael, you must have been really delighted with your intercepting game today from your defenders, but then able to turn that into transition and scores, which was more important.
Yeah, you're right. If you just look at that particular phase of the game, and we've been accused of being many things, but I think they scored 3 goals from their intercepts. They kicked a couple from the kick-in, so we just take a blind eye for that one for a second. But for a team that's got some offensive power, that was important. But then obviously the looks we got on the back of it as well was important as well. And that was probably a trait of ours last year that we hadn't quite been getting exactly right in the first phase of the year. But I would say that was a really key part of the game, being able to manage both sides of the ball like that and limit the opportunities that Geelong were able to generate. That was a really important facet of the game.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Cheers.